Welcome to Game 3 of OldTimers Trivia. This is our original version. You can find on YouTube or Facebook our Quick Edition or our Challenge Edition. The Quick Edition cuts out the delays. Here we play as if we're playing with our friends. In fact, we do play with our friends, but this is not a recording of that. The Challenge Edition is the same as the original edition, except in many of the multiple choice questions, we have eliminated the choices and you have to guess on your own. The Quick Edition takes out the delays, the pauses we use for team discussion, for tallying of points, and it's more for playing if you're playing on your own. And now we move ahead. This is a setup slide, just to make sure that everything is okay, it doesn't count. And likewise, a setup slide. Now we begin for real. Now somewhere in the Black Mountain Hills of Dakota, there lived a young boy named Okay, moving forward. Yogi Bear's constant companion was Which one of the following choices does not identify Agatha Christie characters? Agatha's certainly been a favorite of mine through the years, or at least her writings have been. And we've enjoyed many of their shows on television, PBS, and wherever. The first interactive TV show used a magic drawing screen, a piece of vinyl plastic that stuck to the television screen via static electricity. At a climactic scene in every short film, our star would arrive on a scene that contained a connect-the-dots picture that could be navigated only with the help of viewers. Our hero is... In fact, I one time drew a bridge for our hero, saving him just in the nick of time. And I often wonder about the parents who didn't buy you the vinyl screen, and the children who maybe drew right on their television set. The first aircraft to drop an atomic bomb on Japan during World War II was named Moving forward. Who says, "I'm your huckleberry, that's just my game"? The clock is ticking down. Research at Indiana University that became controversial. This work resulted in 2 books, Sexual Behavior in the Human Male and Sexual Behavior in the Human Female. The work was conducted by and authored by, along with co-workers, And that's the end of round one. We'll move on and see how well you did. Rocky Raccoon. His constant companion was Boo Boo. Not an Agatha Christie character, Alexander Monday. Actually, that's the role played by Robert Wagner on the television program It Takes a Thief. The magic drawing screen, Winky Dink. As I mentioned before, I had my magic screen. The Enola Gay, named after Tibbet's mom. A classic movie, and Val Kilmer is just great in this movie. Certainly I recommend it. I'm Your Huckleberry, that's just my game. Using phrases from the Old West. It was apparently not a totally uncommon expression. Alfred Kinsey. Masters and Johnson followed later. Okay, tally your points. We did have some trouble with, not trouble, certainly one of our people who actually was at Indiana University at some point, thought that the last answer was Masters and Johnson. But in fact, again, Kinsey predated them, and I believe they worked at the Kinsey Institute. Okay, assuming you're tallied. Bonnie and Clyde. Eventually they were not captured, but rather mowed down, I guess would be the expression. But they led a crime spree. The television version of The Adventures of Superman ran from 1952 to 1958, starring Who Sings I Talk to Trees in the movie version Paint Your Wagon. Question 5. Which of the following books has the greatest number sold? I'm going to delay here a bit just to give you a chance to discuss this among yourselves. When we played, it seemed to be a question that people wanted to discuss. But moving on, the A&P, short for how many people were killed at the OK Corral in 1881? And that's the end of round 2. Okay, I'm guessing this was a fairly easy one for us old-timers. Some of these questions I think really would catch up the young-timers. But here's Bonnie and Clyde, Parker and Beryl. And here's one: if you should go down to the woods today, you'd better not go alone, for all the bears that ever there was. You're probably wondering why I'm doing that. Not to be offensive to you, but rather that was the theme song for Big John and Sparky. And there is Sparky, although, again, this was radio, so you had to use your imagination. Probably an easy one for us older timers. Maybe I'll change it to older timers rather than old timers. Anyway, George Reeves, of course. Kirk Allen actually played Superman in the chapter plays or serials. And of course, Christopher Reeve was Superman in a more recent movie. Well, I think actually they had 3 of them, didn't they? Anyway, and you all know James Olsen. Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood sings. Not sure I recommend it, but there it is. Okay, this was a controversial one, or not so much controversial, but of course we had people who discussed this one and had a difficult time with it. Oh, this was a gift for most of us. This helps screen out the younger people. How many were killed at the OK Corral? 3. Now, Virgil, Morgan, and Doc Holloway, that's Virgil Earp, Morgan Earp, and Doc Holliday, were all wounded. Of course, Wyatt Earp escaped being shot. And, well, it's been legend for certainly since the early 1900s when Wyatt told his story and it became legend. And that wraps up round 2. I'll give you a moment or two to look over your scores, tally them. If you have a scorekeeper, to report in. Okay, how are we doing? I'm ready to move forward. Chuck Berry and Sweet Little 16 sings Because They'll Be Rocking on Bandstand. And who says, Mr. Watson, come here, I want you? Mark Twain's first published book, other than short story compilations, is which one of the following is a fallen angel? I got a little static on this one too. I suggested this is for our biblical scholar, and then I pointed to somebody who later said to me, "Excuse me, I'm not a biblical scholar." The Speedo originated in what year under the brand name Fortitude? The name was later changed to Speedo. This turned out to be not a controversial one, but it did evoke remarks. Someone asked if I posed for this. They knew I hadn't, but they had to ask anyway. Johnny Dollar, the man with the action-packed expense account. The name of the radio Johnny Dollar appears in is Elvis Presley's first radio performance was on which of these? Okay. Round 3 is wrapped up, or at least the questions are. Moving forward with the answers. Because They'll Be Rocking on Bandstand in Philadelphia, PA. Mr. Watson, come here, I want you. Alexander Graham Bell. After we had this question in our friendly game of trivia with mostly Starbucks people, this one popped up on Jeopardy. Of course, we sort of knew the answer to this one. Mark Twain's first published book is The Innocents Abroad. At some point, I'll tell you a little bit of a story about this, but now's not the time. Which of the following is a fallen angel? The Speedo. 1914. Out of Australia. Johnny Dollar, the man with the action-packed expense account. The name of the radio show was Yours Truly, Johnny Dollar. Got scolded for this by someone about, hey, getting too old here. Tell you the truth, I remember sitting in the basement as my father worked, and we listened to Johnny Dollar. Now, Johnny Dollar ran pretty late into, you can check the dates on him. I don't want to quote my recall because I might make a mistake here, but moving on, Johnny Dollar, Yours Truly, Dollar. And Elvis, first radio performance was Louisiana Hayride. Actually, most of these, obviously Ed Sullivan was not a radio program, and we, of course, know the Grand Ole Opry. Okay. Tally your scores. I'll pause here. Maybe I should sing a little bit more of Teddy Bear's Picnic while you're waiting. No, I try to make this non-offensive, so I won't do that. Okay. We counted for 2 points. And our crowd, of course, actually someone blurted out the answer. Don't you do that. But our crowd pretty much knew this. In fact, this question popped up at some point on a Jeopardy, I was reminded. And actually, the contestants were young enough, they didn't know the answer. So again, maybe this is a good screener for whether you're an older timer. And the answer? Fred and Ethel Mertz. Okay, tally your scores and determine your winner. You can find us on YouTube and Facebook as Old Timers Trivia. Your contributions help keep Old Timers Trivia alive. Please go to DonorBox and support Old Timers. Thank you. Plus, you can visit our Old Timers store on eBay. We put up new items regularly, and you can subscribe to our newsletter on eBay. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget we have the following editions: the original edition for team play, the challenge edition for tougher team play, and the quick edition. The quick edition does not have the delays for group discussion, delays for the tallying of points. It's for someone who wants to play more quickly, maybe playing on their own, and so you have your options. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you in the next game.